Welcome back to this episode of Random Lines. Your host is Seller Madhava, and today I want to talk to you about how we are building a case for indecision a lot of the times when we could be building a case for deciding to either stay or deciding to leave of the humanitarian sector, right? So as you know that I help humanitarians decide whether they want to leave or they want to stay, whichever the decision they make the best out of that in their experience and how to make this their good or best experience they can have, whether they stay or they leave, without creating judgment, without creating guilt, shame around it. So I have been talking to a lot of humanitarians lately as to what they tell me is that they say, I have decided to stay, but I had to stay because I couldn't really leave because of my family, because of this. Or there are other people who say, I cannot really replicate my salary somewhere else, and therefore I had to stay, right? So, as you can see, that we have a lot of these like beliefs, we have a lot of these stories that we tell ourselves that we can't really leave, we can't really go for what we want, or we can't really make the best out of where we are. And I see this a lot of the times as a way for us to feel bad about ourselves, about our decision. And that creates this feeling of like being stuck or feeling of undecided, feeling of being in indecision, right? So I would really love for us to have a look at how are the ways that we are actually building our case for indecision, meaning that we feel like not decided, even though we have decided, but we're not owning our decision, right? So therefore we keep feeling undecided. And then how are the consequences of that feeling of undecided? And then what could we do instead for feeling decided either way, whichever the way we're going for? So you might be building your case, as I call it, for an indecision, for feeling not decided, is when you keep telling yourself that you don't know. You don't know what you want. You don't know how things are going to go. You don't know what's going to go after. Whatever the version of you don't know, that's when you are building your case for indecision, because as soon as you keep telling yourself you don't know what you want, you don't know how you want it, you are just like robbing yourself of your own wisdom, right? So you if you chose to stay, let's say, but you still keep telling yourself that you don't know what else you would do, and some of my clients or humanitarians that I meet, that's what they tell me is that they have made the decision to stay for whatever reasons, but then they keep telling themselves that, but I don't know what I really want. But you wanted stability, so then now we need to do is build a case for that decision and how to make the best experience of that decision, right? So just because you told yourself that I had to make a decision or I couldn't do any other way, that's not going to any way alter your experience, right? So therefore, as you can see that when we say I don't know what I want or I don't know what else I would be doing even if I left, these are all indicators of how we are building our case for indecision. Or I can't replicate if I left, or I'm not challenged where I am now, so I need to go in somewhere else, but I don't know where. All of this are indecision that we are building around. And what that does is indecision is when we feel like we're sitting between two chairs, or when we feel like we're not really like going in one direction or the other, and we feel like stagnant, we feel stuck. These are the consequences of indecision. Or I can't afford to go for what I want, or I can't really do the things I want to. I can't really stay here, all of this, as you can see, are stories that we tell ourselves that make us feel more and more undecided and more frustrated, feeling stuck, more and more draining our energy, more and more not really feeling like where we are is good enough, and also not really feeling like where we want to go, we can't really go. And therefore, we just keep building our case for indecision, is, I think, is where most of our energy is leaking to, where most of our uh, like time is spent around, and therefore it has no productive outcome basically unless we make a decision, right? Unless we learn to recognize how we keep building our case for indecision, which is something that we know that we don't want, but we keep doing it instead of making a case for deciding one way or another. Even if it's for a temporary purpose, even if it's like, let's say that you can't make a decision long term because of XYZ reasons, and therefore you want to make a decision short term, fine. But it's important that we make a decision, we either way, and keep building our case for that decision and owning it either way. So as you can see, so whenever the like indicators that you notice when you are building your case for indecision is when you are feeling stuck, when you're feeling confused, when you're feeling overthinking, when you're feeling fear, when you're feeling worry. All of these feelings indicate to you that you're just staying in this, shall I go this way? Shall I go this way? I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. I have to, and I have to. All of this are going to create a lot more indecision and confuse you and make you feel like you're just not going anywhere. And in such moments, we need to not only recognize that this is what's going on within us, and also recognize what the consequences of that, what the consequences of just being in circles and in this cycle of I can't go here and I can't go here, and all of this, and how we experience our lives every day, how we experience our work every day, how we experience our waking up hours and after work hours, how we experience those if we keep staying in that loop. And I imagine it's not in any way pleasant, right? And I have done this and I have gone through this myself as well, where I felt like I just kept like going back and forth, right? Back and forth of, shall I go and leave and shall I stay? But if I stay, I don't really believe that I'm doing the impact that I want. If I leave, then I'm afraid that everything will not go the way that I want to, right? So just staying in this ping ponging state is so taxing on our mental health, emotional health. It's draining. And therefore, if we don't want to, then we need to start not only recognizing that that's what we're doing, that we keep building our case for indecision. Instead, let's go to build a case for a decision, whichever the decision that we're making. And I would argue that um, best to make a decision for where you are and make that work first, simply because that's the environment that we know. That's the environment that we have been there for a long time, and we know how things work. And now, how can we make a decision and own our decision of staying and making things work that are not working according to our own conclusions? That might be the best way to start if we're afraid to go to the unknown land, right? If we're afraid, if we are uncertain and afraid to go to the uh, transitioning or the goal that we want or the dream that we want, whatever it is, if we're so afraid to go there, let's make the decision first to make the best out of where we are and solve the problems that we're having currently. Let's make a case for that. And that in that case, then we need to start understanding for ourselves that, okay, there are a lot of probably good things about where we are and what we're doing. it gives us stability, it gives us salary, it gives us a structure of what we're doing and how we're doing. We know already how we can do those things. Now, in that moment, when we have our own arguments that say, well, but I'm not really challenged in my job, I don't think I'm really making any difference. I don't want to be pushing papers back and forth. Instead, just I want to make the impact that I want. When these type of arguments come up, let's start solving for them. Let's start solving for them so that we can start making the best out of where we are. Because as soon as we learn how to solve the problems that we have currently in our own lives where we are now, then we are likely to be able to solve the problems when we go to the unknown land as well. And it makes things a lot easier. But instead, if we just go and say, oh my God, there are so many problems where I am, and I don't really want to be here, and I just want to get out there and go to somewhere else, then we will be dealing with not only with the uncertainties of where we're going and whether this is working or not, but we're also dealing with all the fears of what if I will not be able to solve the problems of the place where we're going? What if we will not be able to replicate our salary? What if we will not be able to deal with those people that we wanted to get out of before, right? So there will be a lot of those uncertainties creep up, and therefore, the more we tell our brains, the more we build our confidence that we can solve the problems that we're encountering now currently, the more we feel powerful and confident to be solving any problems, even if, let's say, we go to the unknown land of doing something new and starting something new and all of this stuff, right? So that's why, as we know, as humanitarians, we are actually good at making a case for either way scenario. And I have seen this so many times, and I'm actually like proud of having witnessed that so many people in the humanitarian sector, we are good at making a case for this way or that way. And since we're good at that, let's not make a case for indecision, or let's not make a case for feeling even more stuck or feeling even more frustrated or feeling even more drained, because those are the situations that our brain are by default already good at. And what we want to do is every time when our brain comes up with a problem of, well, I'm not being challenged, then let's solve that problem first. And let's solve it by, okay, how do you want to be challenged? How do you want to be challenged? And in what way do you want to be challenged where you are now? Can you be challenged in another like context or position within the humanitarian sector? If so, then let's go for it. The same way is, let's say that you have decided that if you have decided to go for something that you really want, and that's your decision, and you have a lot of fears come up as to, oh my God, what if I will not be able to make it work? What if I will not be able to replicate the salary? Or what if I will not be able to create the stability for my family that I want? When these type of problems come up, let's solve for them instead of just staying in that instead of keep building that case for indecision, as I call it, but instead deciding, okay, if I'm afraid that I will not be able to build a case, or sorry, if I'm afraid that I will not be able to replicate my salary, how are you going to do that? Right? What are the ways you're going to do that? What are the skills you need to do so that you can learn that skill? What are the things that you want to be doing ideally and monetizing that? How could that work? What are the things that you can already start testing and seeing for yourself, right? So you can see that whichever the way that we go in the, excuse me, in the transitioning, whichever the decision we make, not only that we need to make the decision, but we need to own that decision and keep building a case for that decision, that this is what we're doing now and this is what we're going fully in. And these are the problems that we are solving. And these are the ways we are solving it instead of going for the third option, which is keep being in this indecision place of I feel stuck, I had to do this, I don't want to do this, I I'm not this, I'm not good at that. And all of those feelings will just generate more of the confusion, more of the fear, more of the worry, more of the I don't know what to do kind of helpless situation. And then those are the feelings that we are experiencing basically on daily basis, right? And if we don't want our lives to be um, full of feeling powerless, full of feeling overwhelmed or overthinking or worrying or afraid and just staying in that cycle, then we will not be enjoying our lives. We will not be even feeling fulfillment. We will not be feeling that we're actually doing the impact that we want to because we're so much in our own heads of like swirling in our own indecision in so many different directions, right? So therefore, the whole purpose of this episode is I really want us to, I'm inviting you to make a case for a decision, whichever the decision that you're going for, whether to stay or whether to leave. And whichever the decision you are going for, start solving problems that you encounter within that decision and feeling good about how you are the person who can solve these problems within that decision. And there you will spend more energy and time that's useful, that you get something out of it, and you feel more trusting of yourself that you can do this. You are trusting of yourself that you can make any of the decision work, whichever the decision you go for, and you feel so much stronger and more powerful. Then later you can make another decision if you want to reverse that or go to another decision, right? So that's why the the skill that we want to build is to not only make more decisions and then making those decisions work and owning that decision and making those decisions work instead of just staying in I can't do this, I'm not good at this, I don't think I will be able to do this, I'm new at this, and all of this like blurry or vague or confusing um, stories that we keep telling ourselves that just keep fogging our experience and making our experience draining and exhausting that probably many of us don't want. So that's why, my dears, if you want to work on this, where you finally have this decision, whichever the way, and you want to build your case for that decision, owning that decision, implementing that decision, and solving all the problems along the ways of having made that decision, then absolutely come coach with me. I would love to get you to feeling like you are going somewhere in some direction and feeling settled and feeling powerful instead of keep feeling powerless, confused, or not really going anywhere. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful week, and I will talk to you very soon.